Although unusual passengers are common for taxi drivers to deal with, this one is the most bizarre by far. The unexpected passenger that a taxi driver discovered in his vehicle stunned everyone, but what transpired next was even more surprising. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. In Houston, Texas, William Brusso worked as a cab driver. Although William was used to receiving all kinds of passengers, he had no intention of accepting any more that day because Hurricane Harvey was approaching Houston. It was becoming wild outside, and the weather was beginning to shift. Taking care of his own family and ensuring they had all they needed to weather the storm was his top concern. William saw that his family was still in need of many items when he looked at the resources they had and realized that they were organizing their basement and preparing their new house. They would encounter difficulties if they were forced to spend days inside the house or if the city's supplies ran out. He decided to take care of things himself by getting into his cab and getting extra supplies since he didn't want anybody else in his family to drive out in the inclement weather. The wind was blowing very hard already. The weather wasn't ideal, but the hurricane hadn't come yet. William sped inside the grocery shop after driving there. All he wanted was to get in and out as quickly as possible, so he could return home and assist his family in any way he could in order to safeguard the house and all of its occupants. He was so eager to hurry inside the store that he failed to notice his car window was slightly open. Everything William needed was there, but when he returned to the car, he was surprised to discover that he had picked up a passenger out of the blue who wasn't even going to pay for the journey. A little Cooper's hawk was perched in the passenger seat's corner. Even though the weather wasn't very terrible yet, it appeared as though the hawk was attempting to seek shelter from the changing weather. According to experts, birds can sense impending severe weather well in advance of it arriving in their region. These creatures may sense a shift in air pressure in the sky and need to seek shelter. However, this bird was behaving strangely. Sitting next to the driver while the man drove about, it was peaceful and content. It is not expected of a hawk to act composed and unflappable while it is around people. That typically indicates that they are hurt or afraid. William kept the window open to give the hawk plenty of time to go because he didn't want to go home right immediately. But the hawk didn't seem to get the memo. William drove for as long as he could with the window open, but eventually he chose to go home to assist his family in getting ready for the hurricane after realizing the hawk was not going to be able to escape. He unlocked the vehicle door at home and made an effort to persuade the hawk to go. Harvey was now known as the Hurricane Hawk by William. Harvey was actually a female, as he would eventually discover, but the name stayed. He eventually succeeded in getting Harvey onto the vehicle door with the assistance of his astonished wife, but she refused to take off. With this bird that just wanted to stay, William was at a loss for what to do. Although William and his family were unfamiliar with exotic animals and raptors, they were aware that they couldn't just release the bird into the wild. Ultimately, a storm was on its way, and since the bird had chosen them, they felt a connection to it. Her wing seemed a little weird, and she was afraid. William believed there was little chance of them gaining assistance from avian specialists because the city and a large portion of the state were preparing for the hurricane. The choice was taken because his family pushed him to let the bird hibernate with them. Harvey would be safe from the storm if they could just take her into the basement with them. They thought that she would be all right for the time being, but they were unable to have her examined by a veterinarian or other specialist. William extended his hand to Harvey while wearing a glove. She was surprised, as the bird, who clearly desired the assistance, sought to hop on immediately. After picking her up, William led her inside. William started making films that he would later post online as soon as he discovered the hawk in his car, in which he begged his fans for tips on how to care for the bird. His supporters praised the family for taking in the bird, but they had nothing constructive to say. Harvey remained really composed and let the family get to know her. She was delighted to chow down on the chicken hearts and water that they had given her as they waited out the storm. Meanwhile, Texas Wildlife Rehabilitation Coalition TWRC specialist Liz Compton was concerned about all the creatures that the storm might impact. Of birds and raptors, she was aware that many species would be in danger. She sat online and spoke with several individuals who had discovered birds and animals in need of assistance in an attempt to aid as many creatures and humans as she could. She gave them instructions and assisted them virtually. However, she was drawn to a link that someone emailed her. William had blogged about Harvey and all the subsequent developments on that page. She was concerned about the videos. A hawk wasn't supposed to be that serene. There had to be a problem with it. Liz seemed quite concerned when William mentioned that Harvey was scared. She clarified that if William hadn't assisted her and driven her home, Harvey would not have survived the night. However, the juvenile Cooper's hawk remained vulnerable. She required medical attention from professionals to ensure that none of her wounds were too severe and to treat them. She was eating and drinking, which was encouraging. But since birds don't want to display weakness, they may conceal serious diseases as well as injuries. It is not always easy to tell whether a bird is very ill, even for someone who is familiar with birds. The Texas organization's professionals had to reach Harvey as soon as possible. Liz would have her chance to assist Harvey first thing the next morning, and she wanted to do it as soon as possible. Although the storm persisted, it lessened a little bit the following morning. Liz and her husband could easily travel to William's house to pick up Harvey. Although the family was sorry to see the hawk leave, they were extremely relieved that she would have the greatest chance for a full recovery. Liz could now at last check on Harvey and ensure she was receiving the finest care possible. However, there was an additional issue. The shelter was flooded. All of the animals that were housed there had to be evacuated since there was nowhere else for them to go. Liz would have to continue living with Harvey. Liz had enough knowledge to recognize any evident injuries, but they would also be unable to acquire Harvey the desired X-ray. Liz could see that Harvey had a broken wing and maybe a brain injury as well. She may have been wounded if the high winds had forced her off course. She was presumably at ease because of this. For several weeks, Liz kept Harvey in a smaller cage so she could recuperate fully and avoid hurting herself. She then gave her permission to try balancing in a larger cage while her wing was shattered. By that point, the state was only beginning to recover from the hurricane, and everyone was in need of a victory because of the number of casualties, injuries, and animal injuries. Harvey's tale began to become viral at that point. People had plenty of personal issues to worry about when it all came crashing down. Harvey served as the diversion they needed at this point to get their minds off the death and destruction they had experienced or saw all around them. Everyone was astonished by what Harvey would still do, and stunned by what William had done. Despite her serious injuries, they didn't think the bird would ever be able to fly again. But at least William had kept her alive. For those who had endured hardship, the hawk took on the role of a sort of mascot, offering them all hope. Liz often updated her followers on Harvey's development. She didn't take long to begin strengthening. Nobody would know that Liz was taking care of the identical bird that appeared in William's movies. She started to soar about the spacious cage one day as she became stronger and more assertive, as a hawk should be. William helped Harvey overcome the odds. She got so strong, in fact, that about a month after William discovered her in his cab, Harvey was prepared for release. Liz shared the wonderful news with William and his new family, and the three of them watched as Harvey took off and soared into freedom. It was an amazing occasion that they will never forget. I appreciate you seeing. Come back with us for more motivational tales. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.